Now I'm a postdoc fellow at the University of Bologna. I also have an experience as a game tester, so programmer, and freelance translator. This talk is not centered on the industry, I warn you. We won't be speaking about milestones, programming algorithm. Instead, it is centered on the gamer. On the immersion and agency of the gamer, the emotional and human experience of the community of gamers. In particular, we will be focusing on user-generated content and fan translations. Are you familiar with gaming? Can you figure out those pictures, starting from this one? What is it about? Yes?
The audio base belonged to us is a really famous localization mistake.
Yes. The game is called Zero Wing. You will hear about it in the industry. This is the worst localization in history. This sentence, all your base are belong to us, is a mistranslation from Japanese into English, and it has actually transcended the gaming community, becoming the laughingstock of the internet community. It has become an internet phenomenon. All your base are belong to us. It is used as a warning to companies. Be careful about the quality of your localizations because your game is going to be the laughingstock. This one. Can you read that? Final Fantasy, yeah. One of the most successful games and pretty much loved by the community. We will see this practice is called cosplay, costume roleplay. Basically, many fans dress up like their favorite characters. It's a curious practice. What about this one? Who's this guy? Snake. Exactly. So, Metal Gear Solid. It's Snake, yeah. Raiden wasn't much appreciated by the community. So this practice is fan art. This is a drawing by a fan. So, we will be focusing on game cultures. We will chart, we will explore the creativity, productivity and sociality of cultures that support and surround video gaming. We will start with fan fiction, fan art and cosplay that modify the representational system of games. We will then move to configurative and transformative gaming practices, and then to modding, fan translations and hacking, which are still in the grey market area. Finally, I will introduce a reception study, a case study on the reception of localization quality of Oblivion in Italy. The question was, of course, not, do you think that Oblivion is buggy? But it's going to be a different case study. Also, Oblivion has a bad reputation. It's replete with bugs. Hello.
Hello. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Now, why should we be focusing on the gamer? First of all, the first motivation is the intrinsic nature of the medium. Video games are based on these two aesthetic principles. First of all, immersion, the feeling of being present in another place and engaged in the action therein. It's the idea of suspension of disbelief. Secondly, agency. That is to say, the feeling of empowerment that comes from being able to take actions in the world whose effects relate to the player's intention. Just think think about the difference with utility software. Video games have a strong emotional and psychological impact on gamers. This is not only about customization of characters, for instance, but it's a strong psychomotor identification with the on-screen characters. Companies are now pushing these concepts to the boundaries. Let's see an example here. I hope this is not a spoiler for Microsoft guest speakers.
So, you've come back for more, Ian.
Yep, let's do it.
This should be good. Let's begin.
Your tires are toast. Go to the pits.
Alright, I'm going in.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right, for the sake of accuracy, this device is called Kinetic. Project Natala, I guess, was the developing project. So, as you can see, the trend is towards projecting the gamer into a cyborg dimension. So, increasing immersion and agency of the gamer. This trend was actually started with Nintendo Wii. Do you know Nintendo Wii? So you can play tennis, you can play sports. It was then followed by PlayStation Move, and now the new vision is Microsoft Kinetic. So this psychomotor identification is increasingly strong. We will see the response of gamers. Another motivation, why should we be focusing on the gamer, is the current media landscape. Web 2.0 has established the central role of the user in creating, manipulating, and sharing content. Yeah. It's not so surprising. This is the person of the year of 2006. You. Time recognized the role of users to manipulate content, to make pressure and change things, especially in the case of Wikipedia and MySpace. And the headline goes, yes, you control the information age, welcome to your world. This was against the theory of the great man. So also gamers use the internet as a global platform for shared and collective cultures, not only through networks, but also through message boards, forums, and online fan communities. UGC, user-generated content, has been constantly and dramatically merging in the production of fanfic, fan art, and fan-based localizations. We can see a relation here with crowdsourcing. However, in the gaming industry, crowdsourcing is not exploited so much. It's still a form of hacking. So the new vision is not so new. It's back from 2006. Is the Game 3.0 that puts the spotlight back on the consumer. Famous examples of Game 3.0 are Little Big Planet and Second Life. Basically, through mods, gamers can contribute to the development and changing environment of video games. Another motivation is the marketing concept. Instead of a product-centered make-and-sell philosophy, marketing involves the art and science of choosing target markets, so also foreign markets, and getting, keeping, and growing customers through creating, delivering, and communicating superior customer value. So also according to the marketing, to the very marketing philosophy, the customer should be at the center. This also involves doing research about reception, not only in the phase of segmentation and positioning, but also after product release, through surveys and consumer satisfaction. Finally, for the translation professionals, we can consider mainstream translation theory. There's one interesting article, What Do We Know About the Target Receiver, by Christiane Nord. Now, what kind of gamer are you? There are different kinds of gamers. Casual gamer usually plays less than 5 hours, has a limited interest in gaming. Hardcore gamer plays much more and usually produces active content, UGC, while casual gamers only consume passively content, but still they belong to the community. Pro gamers, professional gamers, and otaku, that's Japanese word. So Naoko, now this is a brilliant Japanese PhD. What's the meaning of otaku in Japanese?
Otaku literally means stays in the house all the time. Just playing one thing. Just concentrate. Just play a game and do nothing else.
Yes. So otaku is basically the derogatory term. In English it's translated with geek. And anyway, otaku also refers to manga and anime culture, like addict people. So what kind of gamer are you? You're not a gamer.
I'm not otaku. I'm not a professional gamer. So I suppose I'm a casual gamer.
Okay. Carl, what kind of gamer are you?
Oh,
Casual. Sure. Are you sure?
you know much about this.
Who else? What kind of gamer are you?
Is that 5 hours per day?
Yeah, according to ISFE, more or less.
I know what's in a casual game.
Not per day, sorry, per week. Sorry.
I think you need a middle kind of ground between casual and hardcore.
Oh no.
Work a lot. Yeah, well, occasionally, casually.
What is your favorite game?
There's Stronghold, the strategy by Firefox. It's like old as, I don't know, it's really old, but I like it.
Yeah, so you are old 80s, 90s.
What was that?
It's an old game.
It is an old game.
You are a retro gamer. No,
Uh,
not really.
What is the characteristics of being saying like casual or hardcore? Is it the time I spend
Yeah,
playing,
I
or
mean,
is it the
this is not so standardized. Casual gamers play less than 5 hours per week, have a limited interest. Hardcore gamers play much more. Anyway, you can find the statistics online on the ISFE website. As I was saying, hardcore gamers produce game guides, walkthroughs, user-generated content, mods, so they are an active part of the community. Professional gamer, if for example you have been a tester, like myself, I used to be a professional gamer, and this is actually a good way to start in the industry if you want to be a translator, for instance. and you don't have an experience as a gamer, you're not a hardcore gamer. Yes?
I'm a professional gamer. I'm also someone who makes their living from gaming through professional competitions, you know, for
Yeah,
shoes and stuff.
sure. So this is a good way. Starting as a tester is a good way then to move to translation. Female gamers, come on. Any female gamers? Pardon?
What do you mean with the female gamers?
So any women who play games among you, are you a gamer?
Well, yeah, it used to be more than now, but I think that there's a connotation nowadays because many people think that women, they play some different kind of games, and I don't think that's true. I don't know.
Do you play, I don't know, Halo?
I used to play more Final Fantasy, but
Yeah.
I was more PC gamer. And I started with really basic MSPOS games,
Yes.
very basic ones, and when I was a kid, and I think I was playing the same games as the boys of my school, and I think there was never any difference. And nowadays, I don't see any girls playing these fashion games that many people say.
Yeah, big games are supposed to be for girls, but that's a wrong gender representation, I think. What women like or should play. Anyway, yeah, that's interesting. I would be curious to know if you would play like Halo or
Yeah.
God of War. Would you play them?
Yeah, I used to play, but maybe it's because like my brother and me, we were all the time together. So I think
Oh, okay.
who were your friends, who were the people you were sharing this game. And yeah, the 80s and the 90s were the years of people starting to get into this. I think in Europe, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Any hardcore gamers? Modders?
They're probably
Hackers? Huh?
playing. They're probably playing right now.
Okay. Okay. There are also niche groups, gamers and retro gamers. Retro gaming is I put them afterwards because I didn't want to ask about this, of course. But retro gaming is a very interesting trend. Retro gamers really love old school games, like Commodore 64 games, Pong. I personally love Bubble Bubble. I used to play when I was a child. It's like the little dragon, very cute, shooting bubbles. So it's so cute. I played it online. I was the first one on the scores, so I was going to be on top about that. Anyway, retro gaming is very interesting. It's a trend that actually runs counter the concept of supersession. Supersession. Did you hear about it? Now, the idea is that, as Alexander showed us yesterday, the new game is always the best. So, Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be the best experience you will ever have, or Battlefield 3. The industry is constantly looking forward. The new console is the best, the new game is the best, the present is obsolete, old games are prehistorical. So the industry is also pushing gamers to always look forward. Instead, some gamers have a sentimental relationship with their favorite games. They don't want to always look forward. And retro gamers are a huge example of this. Okay, next. This is the European scene of 85% of adults are gamers. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 men, sorry, play video games, and 1 in 5 women play video games. You can find this data and very interesting statistics and figures about gaming and industry on the ISFE website. ISFE is actually a regional game industry association, which is different from rating boards. Other industry associations are, for example, ESA, Entertainment Software Association for America, CESA, CESA in Japan, then KGDI Korea, and IEAA in Australia, which is actually a broader institution for education. So industry associations are distinct from rating boards.
Yes.
What are rating boards? You know about them?
No.
PEGI, P-E-G-I.
No.
Yes?
I don't know about the words, but I remember one of the GTAs was released, censored in Australia, and there was a controversy in New Zealand because they had to get the Australian version, although they didn't have the same laws. And there was legal action taken. Eventually, people in New Zealand got the gory one with all the violence, and they were happier.
Yeah. Rating boards are actually official bodies that rate video game content. They are very powerful in the industry. They are able to ban games. They require sometimes changing the design of games, as in the case of USK for Germany. In Germany, blood, gore, Nazi symbols, violence is usually banned by the USK rating board. So these boards are actually third parties in the video game workflow. They're very powerful. However, I wouldn't say that they really represent the gaming community. They represent public concerns about video game content. Gamers are often against rating boards censoring. As in the German case. Okay, now I wanted to ask, are there any industry associations for India, China, and Central South America? I was not able to find them. Is there anybody from India, China here? Latin America? So, yeah?
I'm actually from neither of those countries, but I did some research once on the ratings board in China. And you're right, there is no formal ratings board, but there is a government division of the government. Actually, there are something like 10 or 12 divisions of the government that somehow get involved. So there's a huge amount of bureaucracy, which is one of the problems with getting games approved in China. That was as much as I found out.
Okay. Now, quickly, in the common sense, according to the public opinion, gamers are solitary and lonely people. There is the myth of the solitary gamer. Instead, gaming can be pretty much social practice in different ways. Gamers get together through performance or in what are called water cooler moments. So gamers like to talk, to chat and gossip about video games. How do they get together? For example, through multiplayer gaming in a physically proximate experience, Wi-Fi connection. For example, the Nintendo DS has got a device that allows you to be connected to up to 16 Nintendo DS in the proximity. Gamers also organize LAN parties, and the most traditional place are arcade malls. Other tools for getting together, dedicated gaming networks, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, which I don't recommend at the moment. Specialist Gaming Press actually creates, shapes the tastes and the community of gamers. Dedicated websites, not only official websites, but game facts, fan fiction and the like, and gameplay footage hubs. And finally, gamers get together through blogs, forums, and message boards. And they have their own social rules, but we will see this afterwards. Okay, let's start with fan-based practices. Practices that reshape the representational system outside gameplay. So we have fan fiction, fan art, cosplay, and musical composition. These practices are actually inspired by video games as a form of art and by official collections of game novelizations from Halo, for example, or from collections of artwork. The most famous ones are Game Heroes and Half-Life 2. Very interesting social mechanism of the gaming community is collective intelligence, also called wisdom of the crowds. Basically, like in Wikipedia, like for Wikipedia, users get together and create content in a shared way. So like a community of ants. So these works are not the product of an individual, but the product of the whole community. In the same way, unofficial game guides and speedrunning sessions are considered to be the product of sharing and participation. Now, fan fiction refers to original fictional narratives based upon and around games. I don't think there is time to see the website. Okay. So, the website of fan fiction has a supportive nature. Gamers review the stories, the fictional narratives of other gamers. They're very supportive. There are some volunteers that offer better reading. Fan fiction is also a manifestation of collective intelligence. Okay. Fan art. Fan art refers to original production of static images, but could also cover a range of productive activity, including music, craft, costume, and machinima. Machinima is very interesting, it's very curious in particular. Let's see some examples of user-generated fan art. So, who's this character? Who do you think is this character? Toad, yeah, yes, exactly. This is by Robert Pence, yeah? This is Toad from the Super Mario series. Not all gamers, fan artists are talented actually. The distribution of talent is quite uneven among them, but there are interesting things. Next one, well, GTF. Very inspiring title. Next, who's this character?
Princess Peach.
Yeah, exactly. Princess Peach. You know her?
She keeps getting kidnapped.
Here she is. Princess Peach from Super Mario. Actually, this picture is indicative of gamers' response to video games. What do I mean? Actually, Princess Peach was not very appreciated by female gamers. There was a debate in the community about this figure of Princess Peach because she was colorful, she was colorless, She was not a playable character, was the typical damsel in distress. And female players just hated this. So they wanted a different image of Princess Peach. This is an example. But indeed, in the sequels of Super Mario, Princess Peach has not changed her shape, but has become a playable character. And she's a strong character. She's able to float up on the air, and she's very powerful, and she can be chosen, selected, even by male players. So this is an interesting example of how actually gamers and fans appropriate the content and respond differently to the content of video games. Now, another interesting example is yaoi. Yaoi, in English, slash, for female equivalent, yuri, is a visual art genre that centers on male-to-male relationships. Now, some very interesting studies by Byrne and Newman have focused on actually the reaction, maybe the integration of gamers in the gaming community. Because many genres of video games are actually heteronormative. Not homophobic, of course, but heteronormative. So, scholarly research has focused on the reactions of gamers. Here to the right, you can figure out gay Naruto. The picture to the left, you know about yaoi? Yeah, actually, this is representative of intermediarity and intertextuality. Actually, yaoi stems from manga and anime culture. So this character, Kratos. Now, God of War is an action game, it's a very popular action game. Kratos is the main character. He's very manly, he's kind of rough. In some mini-games, he has even sex with women. I don't want to imagine what the performance of mini-game was about. But anyway, this was reinforcing the hyper-masculine role, image of Kratos. Gamers reacted in the opposite way. They had a kind of transgressive reading of God of War. They actually transformed Kratos in a queer pin-up. So many yaoi represent Kratos as a gay character. On the other hand, I have to say that instead, part of the community didn't like Raiden. Can you confirm this? Raiden. From, yes. Because some Raiden, sorry. In the first episode, the protagonist was Solid Snake. Again, very manly, rough. In the second episode, the protagonist was Raiden, kind of androgynous and kind of girly, and part of the community didn't like him. So games just wrote, oh, I hate Raiden, he looks queer. So there are different positions, let's say, different perspectives. Cosplay. So it's a blend of costume and roleplay, the act of dressing up as characters from popular animation, films, and video games. There you can see Tomb Raider, of course. This one was actually a model, and she campaigned for Tomb Raider 3. Cosplay is a curious practice and quite radical practice, I would say. The manufacture of original costumes is an integral part of the culture, and there is a considerable trade of costumes. In general, digital dress-up is a major feature in many games, such as in Second Life. So gamers like to create, to fashion the costumes of their avatars. Cosplay is linked to the Japanese culture, where popular arenas for display are dedicated restaurants in Tokyo. So they normally dress up, some gamers normally dress up as their favorite characters and walk on the street, normally. Also in Harajuku Station. In the West, we have different trends. Offline cosplay is restricted to promotional events or LARP, live-action role-playing games. In Italy, for example, we have medieval LARP. Now, if you look at costume players, they might look kind of funny and hilarious. Now, this is, for example, a costume. Well, this is a funny practice, but actually it speaks of the level of dedication and passion of many gamers, of fan communities. This is supposed to be, I think, a costume inspired by Zelda, I guess. So it's finely tailored, as you can see. And so there is a considerable trade behind these costumes. If you want to buy this one, it's $200, for example. Okay, next. Now I have to skip on this. Configurative and transformative performance and play. We have, on one hand, walkthroughs, game guides, and facts. Basically, through these forms, gamers describe very carefully their gaming experience. They play and replay the same game. They go as far as to explore each corner of the game. Superplay is a kind of transformative practice. If you change the rule set, you change the game. For example, Quake That Quick. Quake is an FPS game. So first-person shooter game. Of course, the aim is not to finish as quick as possible. It has been revisited and reshaped by speedrunners. Fortunately, I have to speedrun on these practices, but scholarly studies have provided very insightful perspectives on how gamers receive, describe, and reshape gameplay. Now, glitch hunting. I will only outline glitch hunting. So glitch stands for bugs or anomalies that range from graphical artifacts or inconsistencies to system crashes or save data corruption. Is the non-technical word for bug, I guess. So many gamers do glitch hunting. They like glitch hunting. We have different attitudes towards glitches. On the one hand, we have the example of zeroing. So if a game is replete with glitches, crashes, it becomes the laughing stock, and it doesn't have a good reputation, let's say. On the other hand, we have a few different cases. For example, Pokemon. So if a game is anyway successful and has very few glitches, gamers tend to accept, actually, glitches as part of the game. They even use glitches for speed running or completing the game in a sharp way. They even hunt glitches for game guides. So there we have two different attitudes. Missing No is a famous case in point. Did you hear about Missing No?
Oh, I've caught Missing No many times.
You caught it? Oh, brilliant. So missing no is a kind of a legend. It's actually a glitch. It's a string. When the system of Pokemon is not capable to find the Pokemon race, this string appears in particular conditions. So basically, missing no is a message system that says the system was not able to find the Pokemon race. Instead, gamers really went mad about missing no. They thought that missing no was a Pokemon race, and also when they knew that missing no was a bug, still they were looking for, they were really searching missing no. Probably one reason of this is the slogan of the game. Gotta catch 'em all. So gamers really wanted to catch all kinds of Pokemon, even Pokemon glitches. Machinima is also very interesting. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the video. It's a blend of filmmaking and video game environments. Basically, it consists in using game characters and environments of games as cast and location for cinematic production. It is known that, for example, Steven Spielberg used machinima for his film AI. And this has stimulated also, this practice has stimulated festivals and the Academy of Machinima Arts and Sciences. Now, let's get to the final point about fan-based practices, playing with code. So we have seen practices that basically change the representational system of games. Practices that transform or configure gameplay. Now we see practices that alter the code of video games. First of all, modding. Now, modding is actually an ambiguous term. It might mean modifying game platforms through modules, for instance, or modifying game assets. It is interesting because modding has been institutionalized and sanctioned, increasingly sanctioned by the industry. Now, many developers offer toolkits for modding games. The most successful example is Counter-Strike. Did you hear about Counter-Strike?
Oh, yeah. Counter-Strike and the orange box.
Actually, Counter-Strike is a mod version of Half-Life, a very successful game. Basically, this mod was published as an official game. So the main modders were quickly employed by the developer, and a new version of the game was released. Modding is a very interesting point of convergence between UGC and industrial interests. Then translations, but we will see them in the next slide. And hacking and cracking, illegal practices. Fortunately, they are quite widespread. Hacking is acquiring or tampering with the game code illegally, or, for example, knocking down the protection system of a network and kind of messing up with the data of 70 million people. So, as such, these practices must be condemned. Also, cracking is illicit. May consist in circumventing regional codes, bypassing copyright protection systems, and ripping game code. So they must be absolutely condemned. However, I have to say that in very few cases, they are justified by the fact that not all games are localized. Not all games are distributed in foreign markets. So, for example, some gamers would like to access Japanese games, but they're just not released in the market, so they have to hack them. Also, translation in video game is not crowdsourcing. Translation in video games is a form of hacking. So, translations, to my knowledge, there are no toolkits for translations in the gaming industry. This is to my knowledge. So all translations are a form of hacking. They're not sanctioned, officially sanctioned, or officially published and distributed by the industry. Yes?
I know of several games that use crowdsourcing.
Yes? Which ones?
Supremacy 1914. I mean, I don't know anything about games.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it because they use the crowdsourcing platform that I developed. So,
yeah.
several Android phones, some browser games, a place called games.de, some German. I don't understand what it's written, but I know they use.
And are they a form of mods? So you provide toolkits, and so that the
translation platform is published by the gaming publisher.
Okay, so they also officially distributed. That's interesting. I take note of this. So anyway, it's only for PC games.
I don't know. Actually. Well, some of them look like mobile, but I don't know. I'll see.
Okay. Anyway, this is. I can say that this is new and emerging practice.
Probably.
So translations are related to fan subs and fan dubs on films, TV programs, and anime. Of course, fan dubs and fan subs are not new practices. They date back from the 80s. Translations are also related to scanlation, which is a blend of scanning and translation of manga and comics. It's interesting that actually fan subs and scanlation are published by fans before the release of official versions. So actually, the market is influenced by unofficial translations. Then crowdsourcing, you know crowdsourcing very well, also called community localization. So as, what's your name? Sorry, what's your name?
Frido.
As Frido was saying, so also gaming companies are starting, as an emerging practice, to implement crowdsourcing. However, I have some examples where translations were not sanctioned by the industry. They remained unofficial versions. The most famous case in point is Mother 3 in Japanese, in English Earthbound 2. This was a very successful, at least in Japan, role-playing game. Basically, the US publisher had announced an official translation of this game, but then it was cancelled. So US gamers just went mad about it. They absolutely wanted a localized version of Mother 3. They organized a massive campaign, a massive petition, to urge publishers to localize the game in English. In the end, after 2 years of work, fans managed to finish translation version of Earthbound 2. Anyways, this was not released by the industry. It was an official path, released in 2008. According to some, yes?
It's been released on different platforms now, though, officially.
In which year?
I don't know the year. It's definitely on the Wikipedia page, but it's now on Game Boy Advance. So instead of being SNES, it's Game Boy Advance.
Yes. In fact, it was partly a platform problem.
Because of the release of the new
yes,
consoles.
with the one, yeah. So, according to some sources, between 20,000 and 30,000 emails arrived to the US publishers. So it was a very massive campaign. In Italy, we have a different situation. In Italy, for example, we have this legendary ITP fan translation group. They basically localized Torment into Italian and The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. These translations were actually published by the magazine GMC, Giochi per il mio computer. We are not sure about copyright issues and digital rights. We are not sure if actually this group had an authorization from developers and publishers. Anyway, this game was officially distributed and published by a magazine. So a magazine became the publisher and distributor of the crowdsourcing. We also have cases of retranslations, such as The Elder Scrolls for Oblivion was so badly localized that gamers just hacked it and relocalized it. So basically, translations operate when a game is not planned for localization in a foreign market, or in the case of retranslation. So if the game is so badly translated that it is localized by gamers. Now, last thing, really last part, investigating the reception of localization. Oblivion in Italy. Now, in audiovisual translation, partly thanks to the support of the EU and public bodies, reception and perception studies are mainstream. They aim to investigate how the target audience receives and judges translated films and television programs, drawing on marketing and statistical techniques. Now, I carried out this study. The aim was not, of course, to ask gamers, do you think that Oblivion is buggy? Because the answer is yes, it is. The first aim is to assess the weight of linguistic bugs in relation to cosmetic and functional bugs according to Italian users. The second aim was to assess the degree of severity of linguistic bugs according to Italian users. This is, for example, a video of gamers, of Oblivion fans. It's a role-playing game.
Tables to know what happened in Japan, 'cause you guys are pretty good, but if you did
The horses are floating also in the stream. Swimming, yeah. Kind of. Okay. Basically, didn't have an excellent reputation, at least among gamers, because we will see this was actually a very successful game, surprisingly. Was rated 9 by GameSpot, was pretty much appreciated by the gaming specialist press. So, what did I do in this study? I basically made a statistical analysis of gamers' posts contained in 3 forums. I only analyzed hardware, software issues, message boards, sections. I analyzed in particular 3 forums. First of all, the official forum of Bethesda Software tests in English, because I wanted to test if maybe some Italian gamers went to the official forum of Bethesda and complain about the quality of localization, because Bethesda doesn't offer an Italian forum on its website. So I kind of analyzed 200 posts. There were no posts from Italian gamers complaining about the quality of localization. Only 2 posts of gamers, they were not actually complaining about localization quality. There was one German gamer who had bought the German version and was only asking if he was able to download for free the English version. Presumably because the German version was so badly translated that he wanted the English version. And then another post from a Russian gamer. Anyway, no official complaints about localization on the official forum of Bethesda. Then I analyzed the Italian Oblivion fan forum, and the 3rd forum is the hardware upgrade Italian website dedicated to technology. Of course, there were some shortcomings in this study. The game was released in 2006, so a few forums were not available anymore. There was a very interesting forum called SourceForge, which was the forum of the fans who retranslated Oblivion. I managed to get in touch with the unofficial project manager of the retranslation project. And he gave me some information, but I couldn't access this forum anymore. It was full of comments by gamers about localization bugs for retranslation. So another shortcoming was the partly limited scope of the sample. So I analyzed 3 forums. Now, second forum, the Italian Oblivion fan forum, it showed surprising results actually. I analyzed the hardware software issues message board in particular for an overall amount of 159 topics. So I measured topics rather than single posts. I also read single posts, but I considered topics. So out of 159 topics, 188 were about software hardware problems. So technical bugs, in particular crashes, installing problems, graphical and AE glitches. So considerable percentage, 37 posts were general questions about quests, gameplay and patches. So they were not consistent with the forum issues. Only 4 topics, and I was surprised by this, were about linguistics glitches. These 4 topics centered in particular on untranslated strings, and the overall linguistic quality of the Italian version. Moderators were very mild about linguistic bugs, so I was very surprised, but then I went to see the actual date of the first post. It was dated 2009. The game was released in 2006. So 3 years. This forum is too recent. It was released 3 years after the release of the game. So probably those gamers had access to an improved version of Oblivion, not to the original release. In fact, when I was working in Babel Media, famous company. Did you work there as well? You know it? I was working in summer 2006, so after the release of Oblivion, and it was still being tested and improved. So probably these strange, surprising results are due to the fact that gamers actually played the improved version. Third forum. So the forum contained in the Hardware Upgrade website. I analyzed 2 message boards actually. First message board was about hardware-software issues. The second message board was created, was really dedicated to translation issues. So I analyzed an amount of 416 topics. In this case, we see that out of more than 400 topics, nearly 100 topics are centered on linguistic glitches, so a considerable amount. What did the gamers have to say about linguistic glitches? 43% of posts complained about grammatical errors and fluency. The quality of the Italian localization was really, really bad. People said that, some posts said, it has been translated with babelfish, or it has been translated with a flipper. I don't know how, but anyway, I went through the game manual in English, translated in Italian, and I made a try. I took the first sentences of the manual in English, I pasted them on Google Translate. They were so similar, really. I don't know if in 2006 they were using Google Translate, I don't think so. Probably an empty system which was similar. But, so it had been translated with machine translation with very poor post-editing. This is for sure. I have to add something here. The blame is not the language vendor blame. My colleagues from Synthesis International, Binari Sonori, didn't accept this project. It had crazy schedules. You had like thousands of words to translate in 1 month. So there was probably one Spanish company who undertook this project, but it was not the language vendor fault. It was a problem of internationalization first and schedules. So the judgments about the quality of the Italian language, the Italian translation, were really bad. And gamers also added comments, general comments about the quality of all localizations into Italian. They were complaining. 30% of topics were about untranslated strings. 13% was about punctuation and accents. Now, I'm not saying that these figures can be applied to all localized games. Of course, they are linked to the specific bugs contained in this game. So, why punctuation and accents were so important? Here we are. This is a book. Oblivion contains books that help the progression of the narratives. Accents and apostrophes apostrophes were completely lacking, were completely missing in this game, in this book. So it's really serious. In Italian, if you read dell'amore without an apostrophe, this is serious stuff. So this is about missing apostrophes. Actually, I think that this glitch was due to an internationalization problem, because it didn't support, it's probably ASCII or something, didn't support accented characters in Italian. So some glitches, like untranslated strings, often are due to internationalization problems. Surprisingly, only 8% of posts complained about the consistency of project terminology. Consistency is considered to be one of the major constraints, especially hardware manufacturer consistency is one of the major constraints in translation. In this specific case of Oblivion, gamers did not complain about it so much. Maybe because the terminology was not so bad in the game, or maybe because gamers do not pay so much attention to terminology lists. And 6% other. Conclusions. I finish with specific conclusions for this specific case study. I think I made general conclusions clear during my presentation. So, conclusions about this case study. Italian gamers did not report localization issues to the developer publisher through the official English forum as of 2011. Forum communities revealed different reactions to linguistic bugs, partly due to the size or type of community and the time span of posts. So the second message board was actually opened in 2009. Surprisingly, Oblivion was rated positively by game magazines and websites and was a truly global market success. Partly, I have to say, thanks to the introduction of the test construction set for mods. So basically, through mods, gamers, I also saw that reading posts. Thanks to the mods, gamers were able to play the game. Otherwise, it would crash too often. So gamers actually improved the game through mods. This is part of the success of the game. However, huge amounts of gamers' posts and videos witness the buggy reputation of the developers' works. The Elder Scrolls are known to be buggy games. Finally, Bethesda has paid the penalty. Following work Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls V was not so successful, and Fallout Las Vegas was developed and published by Bethesda and Obsidian Entertainment. Basically, this game, Fallout Las Vegas, was withdrawn from the market. Was so replete with bugs, probably the beta version of the game, or the official version. Anyway,
Initially, or
I think internationally. I'm not sure if it's the final version of the game or the official beta testing. So basically this game was withdrawn because gamers just bombed the official forum of Bethesda complaining about crashes. So in the end, Bethesda Software paid not only lip service but also the penalty for this amount of glitches. That's the end. Thanks for your attention.
any questions?
I
Yes?
I was curious, very good presentation. I was just curious to know, in your research, have you determined or found that there's a sensitivity to gamers for linguistic bugs relative to the platform or the genre? For example, are people who play free-to-play games more willing to accommodate or sort of overlook linguistic bugs as opposed to people who maybe subscribe to paid subscribers, or more of sort of console-based games? Have you done any research in that area?
I think this game was released not only for PC, but also for Xbox version. Anyway, my analysis, because I actually consider topics, but the posts were really thousands of posts. So I only decided actually some main points to consider, and I stick to them. So I didn't make a difference among platforms.
What's your intuitive feel though? What's your sense in terms of free-to-play gamers versus, say, people who actually pay money for games? Are they more likely to complain? I mean, the people who pay for subscription more likely to complain about linguistic bugs, or is that not even a factor? What's your sense?
I think that I should do some research about this. That's an interesting idea. I should do some research. I don't have practical data to answer this question. That's very interesting idea. Thank you.
Just in regards to your methodology, do you think is this the only methodology available?
No, I absolutely don't think so. Actually, reception studies, as I said, they are mainstream in audiovisual translation. In Italy, for instance, we have 90% of television programs and series dubbed, especially from English. So reception studies about the quality of translation is really essential for us. It is backed up, supported by the EU and some also Italian institutions. Actually, the best methodology is surveys. Yes, surveys. It's about perception stuff. So asking directly. For example, if you go to a forum of a community of gamers, you say, like, you post a question so you can test directly what they have to say about it. So this was another limitation of my study. I didn't ask directly, what do you think of linguistic bugs? What is most serious to you? Just went on statistically.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Any more questions? Anyone?
I was just curious why you're saying that this problem with localization in Italian was not the problem of was not the fault of the language service provider.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the question. How can you say that?
Yes,
if you can't translate it, why would you take note of it? If you use Google Translate, you can just be banned from the market. I don't know.
I see your point. I can say this because I spoke to the unofficial project manager of the retranslation project. This project manager was an unofficial gamer project manager, was in contact with the translators, with the official translators of the project. So he knew the working conditions. Like in 1 month, they had to translate thousands of words. I mean, how can you do this if you, basically, it's about project management, you know this. Time, the tribal's constraints, time, quality, or scope, and costs. If you foreground time so much, in 1 month you have to translate thousands of words, what about cost and quality? And I'm also in contact with some colleagues of Binari Sonori and Synthesis International, major language, Italian language vendors. I think they received the quote for that project, but they just said, that's mad, we're not going to do that. Because it was an impossible schedule for that project. So how can you do a good job in 1 month if the time is so strict? I think this is the major problem. And there were internationalization problems as well.
Well, that's basically the point. If you want to not miss the deadline that the customer sets, then just make less profit. I mean, increase cost, decrease time, and please deliver the project on time. Don't try to, I don't know, take a project, make money, and then don't care about the results. I mean, we actually
Was successful here.
we did that similar job, like big volumes from Chinese into Russian, and we were successful. And when we were offered a big project from Korean into Russian, we said, no, it's not possible, and somebody took the job. I'm not sure they were successful or not, but I mean, you cannot refrain from the responsibility when taking on a project like this. I think that's their fault completely.
Yeah,
Well,
I see your point, you're right. I'm not in contact with Bethesda softwares, but what I think is that they had planned the release for March 2006. They organized events around this date. So for them, missing the date was more serious than spending more money and losing quality. So they prioritized time. That was their choice, and that was wrong, I think. Even though the game was successful, there have been consequences for following games. That's my point of view.
For the Italian version, did they use well-known voice actors? Because I know for the English version, they had really famous people doing voices, and it was a huge success in the English-speaking world, even though it was full of bugs, like because you had Patrick Stewart doing voices and stuff like that. So was everything about the Italian version, did it seem cheap, or was there quality in some areas and then corners not in others?
I think the dubbing was improved in following versions. Actually, among the posts, I didn't include complaints about dubbing, but there were many. There were many complaints about dubbing. And I don't remember reading a comment about famous voices.
Sort of broadly about nationality in games. When I have played fan sub games, they're usually Japanese to English. So if there are problems or bugs or whatever, I don't really mind because I like that I'm playing a Japanese game. I want to keep something other, Do you feel that the demographic of gamers that were playing Morrowind wanted their game to feel Italian? Or is it just that Morrowind doesn't have a nationality? And so do you think Italian gamers want an Italian game?
I think they wanted an Italian game in this specific case because it was the first version that was localized into Italian. So the first two series of tests were in English. They were distributed in English in Italy. So in the end, gamers were very happy and satisfied with the Morrowind Italian version. So, I think so.
One more question. You had a slide that had the picture of a book from the in-game. So you said that, there was apostrophes missing in characters. What, was the quality of the rest? Was it really shoddy machine translated in that screenshot? Or was, just that was the encoding issue?
You mean outside the book, in the in-game?
No, in the actual book. That was
In the actual
inside.
book, yeah.
So
it was only about the apostrophes.
So why would they have, kind of generally better linguistic quality there with an encoding issue versus, bad elsewhere?
I'm not sure I understood your question.
Well, the slide you showed, you said
yes.
It could be an encoding issue that wasn't able to take
Yeah,
accents and
according to
stuff.
me, it might be just a problem of character support.
And so, if you ignore the character support, how is that translation compared to the other translations?
No, it's not too bad. I just reported this example because punctuation and apostrophes usually are not considered to be important issues in localization, so serious issues. And in this case, I had like a percentage of 13% complaining about this. So I showed why they were caring about apostrophes. Yes?
So yeah, I just want to say something interesting. I saw now about this Supremacy 1914 game, just in terms of involvement and how people get involved. So the publisher actually gives people in-game money for doing the crowdsourcing, for doing the localization.
That's
So I think that's quite an interesting model.
very interesting. I mean, that's very clever. My point of view is that gaming companies should capitalize on fund translations through crowdsourcing. Not, I mean, up to now, gamers have to hack games. Instead, companies should provide toolkits for translation so that gamers do not have to hack content. So it could be a clever way to exploit the productivity and the passion also of fans. Of course, as in the case of crowdsourcing, you need some review. You cannot publish the content as it is translated by fans. But so they offer passion and expert advice. Like for example, once I was translating Neverwinter Nights. At the beginning, I'm into Italian. I also translated Tomb Raider. That was different. I had problems with the terminology of Dungeons and Dragons. I was not an expert of role-playing games, although I'm a linguist. So I think that probably fan translators would translate that better than I could do. I did many terminology problems, bugs. So that's my point of view.